Pizza has been a part. One thing that we've never really talked about has been like mod pizza.
Oh, okay.
What are your thoughts on like the design your own pizza and they make it there right in front?
I actually really like mod.
Yeah.
I think mod, I understand where people come from saying they're not a fan of mod. I've definitely had meals from mod that were, pretty bad.
That's fair. There's another similar place to that, right?
I don't think so.
There used to be one. Yeah, there used to be one by GU, right by the car wash.
Like a mod or?
Yeah, it was like a mod, the same sort of concept, but no one ever talks about them anymore. I wonder if they went under. I'm gonna have to look, but yeah,
I don't know.
Well, they definitely were there. That's interesting. So,
I like mod though.
Okay,
I will say for the most part, I've had good experiences.
Yep.
And I would say I'm a fan.
Perfect.
Why?
So
What brings this
the
up?
reason I bring that up is if you are not doing anything later, and this goes out to anybody who's not doing anything later for dinner, the Mod Pizza on the Newport Highway up north is doing a fundraiser for the Me Gymnastics team.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Wow, good for
if you want to put this up, can you put like a lower third for me?
Yeah. Do you have are you sending me a link or something?
Yeah, I'm going to put it on the dock here at the top just so you can put it up.
Okay, cool.
But you have to use a promo code to be able to help support them. And the promo code is what you will see on the screen here in just a moment. But essentially, it's going to help them get new leotards that I guess they haven't had for a while. But Me Gymnastics is probably the best gymnastics team in the city. And I'm definitely biased, but they do perform really well. One of my best friend's sisters is the coach, actually. But they're really good.
That's it.
There's a promo code right there, GR201083M.
What's this promo code get you?
That promo code gets you nothing other than donating money to the Me Gymnastics team.
Okay, I like it.
Well, that's something, right?
That's
at
better.
least,
That's better than nothing.
Providing for a good cause, and I think that happens. At any point today, actually, not even for dinner. Any point today.
Really?
They opened an hour ago, and they're open until 10.
Maybe I'll get some mod for lunch.
There you go. 9405 North Newport Highway Mod Pizza. Get your donations on. Help out a local team. Get some new leotards.
Do you have a go-to mod order?
A lot of meat. And garlic.
That's it. No dough, no sauce, just a lot of meat.
Just a pile of meat. Toss it in the oven.
Nice.
Drizzle
I
some
like
pesto on it. But no, just the standard crust.
I like it.
Usually I'll do what I tell them is like red sauce, but then I'll add a little bit of pesto, bunch of meat usually,
okay.
mushrooms, olives, sprinkled with some more
Not
pesto.
gonna lie, I'm a little hungry.
I know it sounds really good. I'm probably gonna go there tonight, for sure. So I will be taking advantage of that. I do love me a good mod pizza once in a while.
I like it.
All right, perfect. Well, now that I got my charitable stuff out of the way, here we are in the locker room, episode number 60 in the Holly Mesa building, downtown Spokane. I'm here solo again.
I know.
I think Andrew hates us.
Well,
right?
I mean, there is a good reason he's not here.
You're right. Yeah, he did get called back into action as a Red Power Ranger. You told me, right?
Yeah. So I believe Goldar is attacking us. So as all of our vast audience is aware, Andrew is the original Red Power Ranger.
Oh, of course.
Yes. So he is currently defending the Holly Mason building from Goldar, and his goals to.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised the local news stations aren't covering this. It's actually a big deal. Things are not going well down here. The Holly Mason building is one of the only buildings left standing in downtown Spokane.
I know. Surprisingly, no one else is talking about it, but that's what the locker room's all about.
But the trains are still up and running. That's actually masking the noise of everything that's happening. So that's very thankful to him. But he'll be back next week, I'm sure, as long as he's allowed to and his cold is cured. Other than that, we have only one number 60 that I actually really want to talk about. Mariners haven't had anybody who's worthwhile for being number 60. Only two players in their history have worn number 60 for longer than 2 years. Nobody to talk about as far as the Seahawks go. Only one guy is really worthwhile that people will even remember, and that's Max Unger. Max Unger wore number 60 for the Seahawks for multiple years. Former Oregon Duck, who played for the Seahawks during their Super Bowl years, was very instrumental in helping Russell Wilson become the quarterback he is today. Allowed him to kind of come in to Seattle without very much pressure. He actually was. Unfortunately, a lot of Seahawks fans were upset about this, and at the time I saw the rationale behind it, but looking back, probably wasn't the best idea. But was part of the trade package that we sent to New Orleans to get Jimmy Graham. Big time playmaker, was going to be a big deal, but just couldn't quite stay healthy and never really built too strong of a connection with Wilson. But Max Unger, awesome Seahawk to be number 60. Last time I did this show solo, I had to ad-lib LuckyBird, and I didn't like to do that because LuckyBird deserves their ad read nice and full and complete. But LuckyBird, who does sponsor this show, is a Spokane-based e-commerce and digital marketing company dedicated to helping local companies scale in the online world of e-commerce and digital marketing. Visit luckybirdbrands.com to have a down-to-earth, no-pressure conversation about your digital marketing and e-commerce strategies today. There's actually only one person I ever go to for my digital marketing and e-commerce strategy needs. What about you, Sam? Same thing?
100%. The only company.
The fact that there's other companies even out there is surprising because
blows my mind.
If they wanted to, Lucky Bird Brands could definitely form a monopoly. They could be the only ones.
You're actually forgetting about a number 60, though.
I'm forgetting about a number 60?
It's from a hockey team, a very exciting and new hockey team.
There's number 60 on the Kraken this year.
Yes, there is. A Chris Dreiger.
You're right. Chris Dreiger is number 60.
I'm sure I butchered that last name.
I think actually that is how you pronounce. That's how I would pronounce it at least. I do have to learn the pronunciations of a lot of guys on the hockey team, considering a lot of them are Canadians and have French last names.
True. So I figure they're new. I'm sure it's a team that's on your mind. You just forgot about. That's okay.
You're right. Chris Dreiger is going to be very instrumental this year. He is technically the backup goalkeeper, but in today's NHL, there's a lot of 1-2 power combos in goal just to keep them fresh. It's a tough position, pretty tough on the knees. You're squatting almost consistently, kind of like baseball catchers. That's why they don't catch 7 days a week. It just isn't very plausible, and it doesn't hurt to have a strong backup there. But yes, Chris Dreiger is number 60. Nice call, Sam. Hey, see, you're worth something. There's a reason why we pay you the big bucks.
Yeah, I knew that off the top of my head. I totally didn't Google that last second.
You didn't Google that last second whatsoever.
Big Chris Dreiger fan. That's what I'm saying.
Big Chris Dreiger guy. So this weekend I spent all in Seattle. Mariners were in a position to actually make the playoffs for the first time in 20 years. It was the closest they had ever been to making the playoffs. They were within a half game. They were actually even tied for a moment in time. But they needed some help, and they got some help until they didn't get help. And then they lost yesterday. They didn't make the playoffs. But they didn't break my heart. They didn't break my heart in the same ways that they have in the past. Not because I wasn't expecting them to make the playoffs, because I was. But I also we were a year early. Most projection sites had the Mariners winning mid-70s, low 70s amount of games, not even being 500. They went 90-72, won 90 games for the third time in the last 20 seasons. All three of those times they did not make the playoffs, which is actually pretty upsetting if you think about it, because a 90-win baseball team should probably make the playoffs. But there's a lot of top-heavy teams this year. I think 5 teams lost 100 or more games, which kind of shows you why there's a lot of teams who won 90-plus games. But what really broke my heart more than anything was seeing Kyle Seager walk off the field crying. Did you see any of that stuff on social media, Sam?
I did see it briefly. It was just kind of like in passing.
He was bawling. J.P. Crawford was crying. Jared Kelenic was crying. A lot of people were crying. But Kyle Seager spent a lot of years in Seattle. I want to say 11 or 12. He was, I think, a third-round draft pick out of North Carolina the same year that the Mariners drafted the prodigy Dustin Ackley, who ended up flopping and being a nobody, even though he was the highest-ranked college prospect by Baseball America ever. You know how much that sucks? Like, the Mariners drafted like the most safe draft pick in history based off of numbers and based off of projections, and it still didn't work out.
That's such a Mariners thing to do.
That is stereotypical Mariners, especially in the last 20 years. By the way, did you see my Instagram story Friday? The tweet.
Was it an Instagram story or was it a tweet?
Instagram story of a tweet. I screenshotted a tweet.
I don't know, man. Friday feels like a really long time ago.
I know, it was a long time ago. So the Mariners have had 4 playoff appearances in their let's see, it was 70 in their 40 years almost, 45 years-ish. They've made 4 playoff appearances. Guess how many ruptured testicles the Mariners have had, Sam, as their players? How many ruptured testicles?
Okay, first off, I wasn't ready for this question.
You weren't ready for this question, I know.
9.
5. Ooh. 9's a lot. 5's a lot. 1's a lot.
1's a lot.
1 is a large amount. They've had 5 ruptured testicles in their franchise history. They've had more ruptured testicles than they have playoff appearances.
That should go in Ripley's. Or what was that?
Yeah, you're right. The Ripley's, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Or even Guinness.
Guinness, that's the one.
Yeah, the Book of World Records, because they had a guy who ruptured both of them.
Oh,
Adrian Beltre ruptured his probably 10 to 13 years ago. Mitch Haniger ruptured his 2 years ago. They had a couple guys in the 70s do it. I mean, that's just bad luck. Again, we're talking stereotypical Mariners. That's stereotypical Mariners right there. Really unfortunate to see. But to get back to some of the good stuff here, they did have a really good season as far as the win-loss goes. Their run differential, which Andrew and I have talked about extensively, was not great. I think they were minus 55. But you factor in a couple big-time losses. They lost 15-1 and 14-2 to the Astros on back-to-back days. The minus 55 run differential, I don't think was really fair in the grand scheme. I don't think that's a fair way to judge this team specifically. They definitely had fun doing it. I had a lot of fun watching them this year. I told Andrew again at the beginning of the season, they're probably not going to win a lot of baseball games, but they're going to be really fun. And that half of that equation was right. They were a lot of fun, and they won a lot of baseball games, and they won them in very fun fashion. I want to say they won like 33. I think it was 33 games by 1 run. They just had fun on the field. A lot of young guys, Kelnick and J.P. Crawford, Ty France, Marco Gonzalez, a lot of guys who were, just wanting to have fun and play for a team, a city they just really haven't seen much success in actually their franchise history, going back to the whole 4 playoff appearances in 40 some years. But it is what it is. Sam, are you? I know you're a baseball fan. Are the Mariners your team, or are you just a baseball fan?
I mean, I think they kind of are my team, I guess, just because they're the local one.
Yep.
I have not followed baseball closely enough for the last couple of years to actually say I have a specific team.
Right.
But for years it was Cleveland.
Really?
Yeah.
Just because?
That's where my dad was from, and so that was the team that I grew up kind of just being associated with. My dad was like, "Go Indians!"
Right?
And yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely understand that. The Mariners have been a very hard team to root for, but they did sell out all 3 games this weekend. They had 150,000 plus fans over the weekend come into T-Mobile.
Good for them.
Absolutely bonkers. An environment that I've never seen before. I was talking about this with some friends on the way back from Seattle. I've been to some really cool sporting events over the last few years. I went to the MLS Cup 2 years ago, watched the Sounders dominate and win MLS Cup. 4 years ago, I was at the NCAA championship game, watched GU unfortunately lose to UNC, but a moment that I'll never forget. And after those 2 is probably what I saw on Saturday night in Seattle. A game that they had to win, because if they didn't win, Sunday wouldn't have mattered. Game 162 wouldn't have mattered. And in game 161, it was a grind all game. And then Jared Walsh, the Angels' first baseman, hit a 3-run bomb, put the Mariners down, and I think it was the 7th inning that happened. And at that point, it just seemed like, we had absolutely no chance to be able to come back. The Mariners' offense has been rough, especially in that series. It just seemed like they weren't able to do anything. The clutch factor, Mariners were the most clutch team in baseball history, according to some of the newer metrics. It only goes back like 20 years, but the most clutch team that they've ever measured. And but it just didn't seem like it was going to happen. So the Mariners, let me go back, and I want to make sure I get this right. The Mariners were down, and I'm there with there were 6 of us. So I was with 5 other friends, and we were sitting up the first base line. On Friday, we were up the third base line, and on Saturday, we were, again, we were wanting a win. We needed a win, and Jared Walsh hits that home run, and let's see here. Let me go back. So in the 5th inning, the Mariners scored 2 runs to put them up. Make sure I do this right. Put them up 3-1, and then the 3-run homer happened in the 8th, actually. And so at that point, we're like, okay, we're down 4-3. We have 2 innings left. There's just no way that happens. And in the 5th inning, that's when we went up by 2. Mitch Haniger hits that home run. And then in the 8th inning, Mitch Haniger ends up getting a two-run single. And let's play that first. I sent you a couple of videos. Let's play do you have the time on those? Can you see it pretty easily or no?
One is 13 seconds and one is 14 seconds.
Let's play the 13-second one first. This was when Mitch Haniger hit that two-run double and put the Mariners up 5-4.
Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
We're going wild. Nobody has my reaction, but after that, I paused the video because I wasn't celebrating nearly as hard because I had the phone in my hand. I stopped that video, and I just essentially bull rushed down that line, and I just was, just going absolutely wild. So that was the coolest moments I've ever experienced as a Mariners fan, being inside of that stadium, having 45,000 other people yelling as loud as they can, a moment that Seattle will never forget, especially if you were there. And then a couple minutes later, Kyle Seager ends up singling as well. And this one I was a little more prepared for, so I had the video on my friends before the hit. So you see them just kind of really locked into the game. Kyle Seager gets the single, puts the Mariners up 6-4. Here's that reaction. So that one was really fun. That one was really cool because you see, we're all just kind of patient, hoping Kyle Seager, Mariners franchise icon, actually, gets a base hit and gives a little bit more insurance runs, which he did, got that single. We went wild again. That night, obviously, things were very fun, and Seattle was just absolutely crazy. There were people like raving right outside the stadium. Bands were playing. Luckily, things didn't get so wild that, anything was lit on fire, which I feel like happens a lot after wins like that. But really awesome experience. Unfortunately, yesterday we needed Boston and or New York to lose. Both of them ended up winning, so it didn't matter if we won or not. Mariners ended up losing to the Angels last night or yesterday, and essentially, actually, it knocked them 2 games back from those 2 teams. But again, a season that nobody's really going to forget, and one that I know I will never forget. Kyle Seager ended up coming off of the field in the 8th inning of that game. And he would, again, like I said, everybody was bawling. Deadspin. You know who Deadspin is?
Sounds familiar.
So Deadspin specifically, it focuses on sports, and they made this big deal about Kyle Seager, and then the Astros, Carlos Correa played his potentially final home game, depending on how everything works out with them. And they both came out mid-game, and, all the fans were clapping, being very nice about it. And Deadspin said that, why are fans okay with this? And it's like, Kyle Seager played 11 miserable seasons in Seattle. Never made the playoffs, made decent money, but played on a lot of bad Mariners teams. And I think it was cool. Do you like that? Do you like when teams pull players, give them a curtain call? I think that's cool. I think that's respectful.
Yeah, I think it's almost it's not like a sign of respect, almost a little bit.
Oh, for sure. I definitely think so as well. And hey, look, there's Andrew. He's on YouTube. He's checking in from YouTube. He said, "Nice shirt." Hey.
Goldar must be down right now.
See, he's just taking a little moment break to comment. He did say, "Nice shirt." This is a new shirt. This was the shirt I was talking about a couple days. I mentioned that a couple shows, right? That I got a new jersey from.
Dude, if you're at for your birthday, I was if you're talking about just a random jersey one show,
I never talk jerseys. But yeah, this is the current U.S. men's national soccer team home jersey. It's not too bad. It's a little. The angles are weird on it, but I think it's fun. I think it's decent. I like the new USA crest. I think it's very U.S.-like. If that makes sense. Clean cut. I don't know if the U.S. is clean cut anymore, but that's what I think of at least. But
okay,
I don't know. That's just kind of that's my first thought. I probably could have a better description if I was planning for it a little bit more. But here comes Andrew just hopping in. So essentially, Mariners are going to be really good next year. A lot of teams, a lot of executives, a lot of players are expecting Mariners to be good. We're going to break down the Mariners more in the coming weeks as more things happen moving forward. Kind of checking in on the area sports teams this weekend. Cougs actually beat Cal, which is a surprise because they're bad. The Cougars are just not a good football team, unfortunately. Even most Coug fans, a lot of buddies that I have who are Coug fans, also don't think the Cougars are very good, but they did win 21-6. Made a lot of plays on both offense and defense. We watched that game in a Seattle sports bar called Tony T's. The last sports game that I watched there was GU played UNC in like 2018, maybe 2018 probably, and they got the floor. They waxed the floor with the Zags. They won by like 18 or something ridiculous. It made me super sad, but that result was a little bit different yesterday. As well as let's see, on Sunday, I guess that was just yesterday. We talked, this weekend was weird. This weekend felt long, but it also felt short.
Yeah, it was a strange 3 days.
I have no idea what happened most of the time, other than the fact that the Mariners went 1-2 and almost made the playoffs. Sounders won last night 3-1 over Colorado, kind of cementing their status at the top of the Western Conference by 2 points over Sporting Kansas City with a game in hand. Manchester City tied Liverpool in probably the best Premier League game of the season, potentially could be the best Premier League game all season. They stayed steady in third place in the Premier League. Liverpool is second with 15 points. City has 14, and Chelsea sits at the top with 16 points. Let's see here. All sorts of high school stuff happened this week, and then I'm not going to dive into right now because we don't have enough time. Let's talk some NFL news. Let's see what's going on here in the league. A few things that I want to talk more in depth with Andrew, but we'll maybe talk later. Richard Sherman signed with Tampa Bay mainly because Tom Brady reached out to him and said, hey, come play for Tampa Bay. And they were able to kind of hash out their previous issues that they had when Richard Sherman was his very much cocky self back in, I want to say 2013 is when this happened probably. The whole famous "you mad bro" situation happened after the Seahawks won on a last-second play. I think that was the last-second play. Anyway, I just know Russell Wilson had a really awesome throw to Sidney Rice, where Sidney Rice's pants fell off, diving into the end zone. That's always a fun memory. You gotta love it.
Good times.
Good times. So Sherman's in Tampa Bay. He actually started yesterday, which is insane considering he just signed with the team this week, and he was dealing with some pretty serious off-season issues that we talked about also on the show. But he's in Tampa now. I want to talk about the Chicago Bears once again. I feel like I talk about the Bears all the time, but head coach Matt Nagy, after the win, I think he said this morning actually. Yeah, he said it this morning. But Justin Fields led the Bears to a victory yesterday, 24-14 over the Detroit Lions. Unfortunately, Matt Nagy said that Andy Dalton will be starting next week if he is healthy, so that's kind of weird. I don't really understand that. Fields played well enough to get them the win, something that Dalton wasn't really able to do. I would like to see more Justin Fields in the future, but we'll see if Matt Nagy is a good enough coach to do that. Hint, he's not a good coach, so we probably won't see that. Going over some more NFL stuff, just looking down the list here. Atlanta's still a horrible team. They lost 34-30 to Washington. Buffalo really took care of business against Houston, winning 40-0. That Houston team is so bad. Something that I don't even know Deshaun Watson couldn't even help. So they're just not good. They're not good at all. Dallas won 36-28 over Carolina, preventing Carolina from moving to 4-0. Even though Darnold still looks really good, surprising. Zeke had 143 yards on the ground. He's looking a little bit better after a lot of teams or a lot of people said that he would have issues this season, and it looked like he could at the early part of the year, but he's turned that around the last 2 weeks. The Colts beat Miami 27-17. Wentz did enough to lift the Colts over Miami. Cleveland beat Minnesota 14-7, and these are the problems I have. We're going to talk about the Seahawks in just a second here, but Seattle just got essentially destroyed by the Vikings, and the Vikings were just made to be terrible yesterday somehow, only scoring 7 points after playing really well against Seattle, so that always worries me a little bit. The Giants beat the Saints 27-20 in overtime. Daniel Jones threw for 402 yards against a very strong New Orleans secondary. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch really any of these games. I was too busy watching the Mariners, but just looking at some of these stats, that's absolutely insane that the Saints were able to give that up. The Jets beat the Titans 27-24, also a worrying sign for Seattle, but again, it is the NFL and any team could win on any given Sunday. Still sucks to see. Kansas City's offense rebounded, winning 42-30 over the Eagles. Arizona dominated the Rams 37-20. Stafford threw for 280 yards, still wasn't enough to beat Arizona. In my mind right now, Kyler Murray's making a very strong case to be MVP. I just don't trust that defense overall. They looked really good yesterday, but they have a lot of weapons on offense that I just don't know how teams are able to stop. Baltimore took care of Denver 23-7. Lamar Jackson threw for 316 yards, kind of showing that he might have a little bit more talent in that arm. Green Bay won 27-17 over the Steelers. Big Ben still looks terrible. Rodgers, this was a game that the Packers should win. The Steelers just don't have it. That offense is just too mediocre, and I just don't see them really having a great season. Last night, a really odd game. Tampa won 19-17 in Brady's return to Foxborough over the Patriots. Mac Jones threw for 275 yards. A lot of people are talking about his impressive performance. I did watch that game on the way back from Seattle, and it's a lot of checkdowns, a lot of short passes, but that is kind of today's NFL. A lot of guys, especially ones who don't have that much arm talent, like Brady. Brady doesn't have that much arm talent at this point in his career, so a lot of short check down type passes. And if the Patriots can compete with the Bucs, Mac Jones doing check downs and throwing short is the way to go. So let's talk Seahawks. Let's talk Seahawks because Andrew isn't here to tell me a lot of negative things that he thinks about the Seahawks. They did win yesterday, 28-21 over San Francisco. That game was a little bit better of a win for Seattle. San Francisco did score in the final 2 minutes and got the 2-point conversion. So that was a 28-13 game with under 2 minutes left. But still, in my mind, Seattle took a step forward. It wasn't as great of a performance as I would have liked, but the offense made a lot of plays in the third quarter, which is something they haven't done this year. They haven't scored any points in the third quarter until yesterday. That changed, thankfully. The defense actually looked semi-competent on the back end. Diggs and Adams were both flying around. Diggs had an interception after reading Jimmy Garoppolo in the first half. They didn't turn that into points. The first half offense was absolutely horrible. At one point, middle of the second quarter, the Seahawks had -10 total yards, which really worried me. Really, really worried me. But they were able to change their tune in the second half. Outside of a blown coverage to Deebo Samuel, allowing him to get free for a 76-yard touchdown in the third quarter, Seattle's defense played pretty well. Trey Lance did start the second half, played the entire second half. Jimmy Garoppolo was out with a strained calf, which could keep him out for a couple weeks, actually. But I do like what I saw from Seattle overall. I think the rushing game was terrible, to be fair. Alex Collins rushed better than Chris Carson. He did have a nice 20-something yard scamper that resulted in a touchdown. But the Niners are a good team. The NFC West is a good team. That puts Seattle and the Niners both at 2-2. The Rams are at 3-1 after losing to Arizona, and Arizona sits atop the NFC West at 4-0. Seattle has a really tough matchup on Thursday against those LA Rams, and I want to say that's in LA. It's in Seattle actually, so that's thankful. They don't have to travel for this Thursday night game. So we'll see what ends up happening. It's going to be a really tough performance. That Rams offense, no matter who's under center, is just an absolute pain to deal with. That play action with Stafford, one of the best play action passers in the league, is going to be really tough to stop. But I do think the difference of Sidney Jones being in that lineup over Trey Flowers there at the cornerback position was huge. He looked a lot more comfortable, played a lot more press, and I don't know if that was a schematic thing that changed. But something changed there on the back end, and things looked a lot better. Bobby Wagner was still Bobby Wagner. The pass rush still got to both Jimmy Garoppolo and not Darrell Taylor. I'm going to talk about him in a second, but also to Trey Lance, who looked fine. He's obviously a rookie, but has a lot of arm talent, a lot of speed. He got multiple fourth down conversions with his legs, which was extremely frustrating to watch. But I do like what I saw. Darrell Taylor has 3 sacks in 4 games. He did have an injury scare, but I think he's okay. I think it was just cramps or something because I haven't seen any updates on him. So hopefully that is the case. Other than that, it's a decent day as a Seahawks fan. I think you have to be happy with the performance and hope that they take more steps forward. Again, starting with Thursday night in Seattle against the Rams. Did you watch? What did you do yesterday? Did you watch any football? Did you have time to watch any football?
I did not watch any football. So this is the first year in a couple years I haven't played fantasy either.
Oh, right.
And the amount that I have paid attention to football is 0.
Classic.
Which is a little weird because I've always watched football, and I mean, it's been a weird year overall.
It has been a very weird year.
I didn't even realize that we were already this deep into the season. That's just how disconnected from football I have been this year, which is strange because I really enjoy watching football.
So speaking of fantasy football, I'm going to bring up my fantasy team, and I want to say good game to my buddy Tim Wilson, who ended up beating me by 1.7 points, which is super upsetting.
Wow.
Super upsetting. But it's okay, only because of the fact that I would have beaten every other team in the league except him this week. Both of us had amazing weeks. Neither of us should have lost. I ended up losing, unfortunately. But I like my team's performance. We'll be back stronger next week. We're going to have a good week of practice. And I'm excited to see our progress moving forward.
That's good to hear. It's good to hear you're gonna have you're really gonna buckle down this week during practice.
We after a loss, we have a very similar thing to the Seahawks. We have Tell the Truth Monday, and the truth is we're a good football team, and we're gonna be fine. We're gonna be sitting at 2-2, but I'll be probably one of the top scoring teams in the league, so I'm not too worried about it. Not worried at all, actually. You want to know why I'm not worried?
Why is that?
Because even if our practice facility gets taken over by the city of Spokane, we could find a new piece of land to develop on. Do you want to know why?
Oh, what? I would love to know why.
We have some of the best realtors in our back pocket. You want to know who they are?
I would love to.
I'm sure you would. Windermere Services Mountain West proudly services over 60 Windermere offices in Eastern Washington, Idaho, Eastern Oregon, and in Montana. They are all in for their local communities. At Windermere Services Mountain West, relationships are the foundation of their business. Their mission is to be successful, team-oriented real estate professionals committed to exceeding expectations through exceptional customer service. They are Windermere. Windermere Services Mountain West is committed to the communities in which we live and work. They are all in for you. You want to know, I actually heard a Windermere ad on... Was it the game last night? I heard a Windermere ad. I was like, hey, that's my ad read, and I do it much better.
That doesn't surprise me.
I do it so much better than the national broadcast. It wasn't even close. But Windermere Services Mountain West is the best Windermere in the country anyway. I have a couple jabronis this week. I have two, actually, mainly because Andrew doesn't have one, and it's my show, and I get to do what I want. So I'm doing two jabronis. Let's start with Urban Meyer. I think the Urban Meyer one will be a good one to start. A little bit of background real quick. Head coach Urban Meyer of the Jacksonville Jaguars last week had a Thursday night game in Ohio. They played Cincinnati, and they lost 24-21 to put them at 0-3. They are now 0-4 after this week. He did not fly back with the team, instead choosing to go visit family, allegedly is what he said. Unfortunately, when you're Urban Meyer and you have a lot of success at the college level, everybody knows who you are. You're in the NFL now. You're an NFL head coach. Everybody definitely knows who you are, especially when you were just coaching an NFL game a couple hours prior. He was found at a bar. Keep in mind, Urban Meyer is married with kids, has a lot of grandkids, and it's unfortunate what ended up happening. Here's a little short video of where Urban Meyer found himself that Thursday night last week. In that moment, he's probably thinking, I'm living my best life. My team's at 0-3. I'm making a lot of money as a head coach, though, so it doesn't really matter. He had to apologize at a team meeting today on Monday when that video leaked. And by Monday, I mean today, actually. This morning, he had a press conference, apologized for being a distraction to the team. He said, just stupid, and so I explained everything that happened and owned it. Just stupid. Should not have myself in that kind of position. Like I said, he did not fly back with Jacksonville that night, and not great. Not a great position to find yourself in.
Not ideal. No, not for a head coach, anyways.
That one will hurt the reputation a little bit. So the next jabroni was a video that I took at the Mariners game on. Where were we sitting this game? This was up the third base line. So this was Saturday. And this was early on in the game. This guy he had no idea where he was. I mean, again, we're on the third base line, so we're watching the game this way, and this guy was watching something that way. And he comes down with cotton candy. This guy's upper 20s, maybe early 30s, and big thing of cotton candy, the biggest size thing of Dippin' Dots, and he is just zoned out. And by the end of the game, though, he was fine. He was talking with his buddies. I saw him go back and forth from the concourse, and he looked completely sober at that point. But this guy was on something. And here's a little video I took because it was one of the funniest things I'd ever seen. I'd never seen anyone eat cotton candy, let alone an adult eating cotton candy before. So here's this guy, and I made him my jabroni mainly because a grown man should not be eating cotton candy, let alone licking your fingers while you do so. So, not to put the guy on blast for it, but if you're going to eat cotton candy, you got to learn how to eat it. You don't eat it with your front teeth. Just don't be that guy at a professional baseball game, or you will get caught looking like that. So I'm sure this guy will never see it, and I don't feel bad about it at all. Like I said, he was completely fine later in the game, so maybe it was on a sugar high. Maybe that's probably it. He was high on sugar.
It's got to be it.
That's got to be it. Once he came down off that sugar high, he was fine. All right, let's go to this day in sports history. Let's see, October 4th, 1906, the Cubs beat the Pirates 4-0 to end the MLB season at 116-36 with a 763 winning percentage, which no team has ever done, mainly because teams play more games than they do back then. But the Mariners did match the 116 wins in 2001, so that part was matched. Just to talk more about the Mariners, that was an awesome season. Unfortunately, that was also the final season they made the playoffs, but that will change next year, I'm sure. On this day in 1922, Grantland Rice does the announcing for the Giants-Yankees World Series, which was broadcast for the first time on the radio, WJZ and WGY. I'm guessing both of those are in New York. That's crazy. 100 years ago was the first baseball game, first World Series to be broadcast on radio.
That's pretty insane, actually.
It's so, like, I mean, 100 years is a long time. Let's make that clear. But at the same time,
but in the big picture, it's not.
Like, there are people alive before radio and sports existed.
Yeah.
And now, like, if you can't get 4K streaming, people are throwing fits. It's very crazy, very, very crazy. On this day in 1996, left-wing Mike Donnelly becomes the first player in NHL history to play for all three New York teams, the Sabres, the Rangers, and the Islanders, when he suited up for the Islanders in a 1-0 loss to LA. That guy has to be probably the most hated guy in New York, right? Could you imagine? You play for all the rivals. So essentially, he's probably if he ended up, let's see, suited up for the Islanders, that means the Islanders actually probably are okay with them, but the Rangers hate you, the Sabres hate you. That's worse than a player going to play for the Mets, because there's only two baseball teams. So he played for two other New York teams on top of the team that he currently played for.
Or is he the most loved man?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that. No, he's hated for sure. Nobody likes Mike Donnelly. I actually don't think that's true. I want to say he's actually well received overall, but kind of interesting for sure. Closing time to wrap this all up. This happened on the happened on the Monday night broadcast last week. Have you seen that? We talked about it, I think, but Eli.
Yeah, I watched it briefly. Yeah.
So this made its rounds very much so all over social media. Eli Manning having some fun on the broadcast. We're going to play this video for you, and you'll see what Eli Manning does toward the end. That caused a pretty big reaction across all of sports on Monday.
A high five. They're excited to see you. Go to Philly. I mean, you're getting the double bird right away from a 9-year-old kid. I would give the bird. I don't know. Can we do that? Can you? I'm sure you can blur that out, right? It's over now. Yeah. So I mean, getting double bird by a 9-year-old, and they're saying things about my mom and Peyton. And I can't even tell you what they said about mom.
Hey man,
you do not want to know. I had to go Google it to find out what the. All right. Sorry. Earlier.
So funny. Everybody sees Eli Manning as the younger brother to Peyton Manning. That's just the way it is. He looks younger. He acts younger. You can kind of tell. He flipped everybody. The cameras off, and he kind of awkwardly looked over here, maybe at his producers. I don't know who's over there, but he looked off to the side, like should I have done that? Whoops. He ended up apologizing for it, as you have to do for everything you do now. But he apologized for flipping off the cameras. And technically you're not even supposed to do that. The FCC probably got up in ABC, ESPN's business after that one, because that's a no-no. But I think that's hilarious. I think that's absolutely hilarious. Funny. That broadcast with the Manning brothers is actually really good. They're taking a 4-week break, I want to say. Their next broadcast will be actually, thankfully, the Seahawks-Saints game. I'll have to make a bet with Vinny for that, I think.
That's probably smart.
That should be a really good time. But that was awesome. The Mannings are a lot of fun.
Might have to bet Domini sandwich.
Whoa, We do need to go to Domini's again. We were only there a week ago, and I could really use a Domini's sandwich. That was really good. But I have Mod Pizza to look forward to.
True.
I have Mod. Let's flash that promo code one more time. Do you still have it up there on the dock?
If I don't, I can re-add it.
Perfect. Yeah. So again, if you are looking for some food and you live on the north side, actually, if you live anywhere in Spokane, head north on Newport Highway and go find that Mod Pizza there, and let them know you're there to support Meade Panthers Gymnastics. Tell them this promo code here that's going to be flashing on the screen, GR201083M. Go support a local gymnastics team that could use new leotards. I'm sure they would very much appreciate it. I'd love to make them a lot of money today. Again, Mod Pizza up on the Newport Highway. Go do it. You will not be disappointed. Mod Pizza is very much, I mean, it's nice. You get to design your own pizza. They make it right there. It's fresh. You sit down, you eat it, and yeah, have a good time out there.
So they're the pizza or the Subway of pizza.
Yeah, essentially, it literally is. It's the Chipotle also of pizza, right? Kind of the same thing.
Yeah. I'll agree with
Costa
that.
Vida, Jimmy John's. I mean, there's a couple. Actually, Jimmy John's doesn't have that much flexibility. You don't really design your sandwiches there. They have a full-on menu, but go do that. That would be really cool of you to do. We'll see you here next week, though. We're gonna make Mondays at 11-ish a.m. ish. Emphasize.
I'm glad you added the ish because it's usually ish.
It definitely is a lot of ish, but it's definitely between 11 and 12 every Monday. We talk NFL. Andrew will be back next week. I am sure of it. He actually does have a cold, but he's also doing his thing, protecting the building. But we will see you here next week. Hopefully Seattle at that time will be 3-2 after it went over the Rams on Thursday night. It'll be a really tough game. But until then, have a great week. We'll see you here next week on the Locker Room here with Spokane Talks.